Mainstream media, the death of it, and the rise of independent agents facilitated by the democratization of information technologies. Let's look back. When were there times when the ability to control the dissemination of memes became overly concentrated in the hands of those that chose to self-deal for themselves rather than enable the true education of all to rise up, find their purposes, and partake in the society? Right now, we see this happening at the global scale, and it seems as though it's been happening for a while now, where just a couple, what seems to be 100 or 1,000, couple just 100 or a couple just 1,000 people are controlling the life trajectories of 8 billion people. And the conglomeration of the outlets that people are consuming on a daily basis has been increasing around the world. What used to be such an abundant amount of people that were able to distribute the sources of information ended up concentrating into the handfuls of just a few in all these different countries. And the way that they're behaving with the attention economy is not on behalf of nuance, it's not on behalf of centrism, it's not on behalf of love and compassion and desire to progress, but it's in a direction that is polarizing, that is harmful for the zeitgeist of the spirit of the planet. Bringing this back to nature and back to spirit, we have always needed, when we're born into the world, the true benevolence of our families, of our friends, of our communities, to remind us through the memes, through what they're telling us, so that we input these true, authentic, altruistic, inclusive behaviors of, okay, I realize that I came from God and creation, and now I realize that I'm interconnected in nature. Now I'm finding my purpose. I'm remembering my purpose. Otherwise, if those things aren't fed, what is being fed to us? Oh, this is over here is bad, and this over here is good. Its advice is coming from all different angles all the time now, and it's not complete advice. It's fragments of advice everywhere, including these streams of consciousness are fragments of advice that I'm doing my best to synthesize into things that are at least cohesive, coherent, and can be applied into your lives in ways that make sense. But when the actual memes become fragmented, when the memes become conglomerated, when the memes polarize and separate us, we are getting ourselves into massive problems. And it's most evident now. It's really so many examples in the past history of power conglomerating and controlling people. And those that stay independent as independent agents are then those that can free think themselves with the help of things like a library used to be able to really free think themselves away from the corruptive tendencies of mind control. And now rather than being able to go and free think ourselves, which hopefully some people still use the internet for free thinking purposes. It definitely feels like I and many others I know do that. But when we're just like a monkey that is on this feed that is algorithmically programmed for us to be put into an echo chamber and programmed for us to be in some ways nuanced, yes, identifying certain things in that feed that can then spark an interest for us to meet with someone that's locally in the area, right? So there is some nuance there, although it can be engineered in better ways to where you can get the good stuff. So when the media gets conglomerated like this and it's following the same paradigm of the attention economy that everyone else is, you can literally see the amount of posts that are made and then amount of repeat posts that are made by other organizations, and how the news cycles are now moment to moment news cycles all the time. Everything's breaking news all the time. It's so important for us to capture your attention and keep you on screen while we feed you an ad so we can make money, instead of report on authentic, really important causes that are actually positive and benevolent and making our world a better place, instead of selling us fear. That is why mainstream media is dying, and that is why the rise of independent agents are coming up, and thank goodness for information technologies democratizing that. Now, are there certain aspects to the democratization of information technologies that make things worse? Absolutely. The amount of noise that is now all over civilization is almost unbearable. Noise is everywhere, and it's so hard to decipher who has actually educated themselves with a really high quality input stream that I can trust as a source of knowledge. And then how can the platforms themselves that these independent agents are distributing themselves on, which so many people are moving to more and more independent platforms. But right now, the recommendation engine on the platforms like a YouTube or like a Facebook, where this is being streamed concurrently, have the capacity to recommend us into the feeds of others that can then see it and that can then become more aware of stuff like this. So this is the complexity that we live in now, where mainstream media is slowly being less and less trusted, and it's more and more evident that people are being polarized by it. In the meanwhile, these independent agents are rising that are then doing things like at least trying to stay independent, being funded through platforms like independent donations, reoccurring donation platforms. So things like PayPal, Patreon, cryptocurrencies, ways to fund these platforms. It's so important. Independent agents today are crucial. Fund independent sources of media and news as soon as possible, because these are the ones that are going to be trying to synthesize and disseminate things, or even tell you about what's happening at the edge in certain places in the world, these diverse moments that are happening in ways that are honest and truthful, and you have to parse and identify those yourself. What are the optimal ones that are actually nuanced and centric and that are truthful in trying to augment your worldview, and not just try and persuade you into something that makes them money or that pushes their agenda, but rather that makes the world better and that you can feel in your essence that it makes the world better. This is the complexity that we're dealing with. And we really hope to see this in more places around the world. Talk to more of your friends, your families, your coworkers, people online on social media. Talk to them more about how the mainstream media outlets are slowly starting to die because they are exuding way too much crookedness, way too much bias, and people are not trusting them anymore. And how they are being replaced by the independent agents that need our support. They need our support so they can continue disseminating really high quality knowledge and cutting edge media. We need the independent agents. We need the technology as it gets democratized to get put even more into the hands of those that are showing their true competence. When you identify competent independent agents, prop them up, share them with more people, and then you yourself make sure that you are also diving in to a more complex, multivariate worldview perspective, and you're not getting siloed into a single echo chamber either, because so many of these mainstream media organizations want you to be siloed and want you to be their puppet that just continues to absorb the same information about a worldview rather than a complex, multifaceted nutrition from a buffet of options that you can find the little tiny condiments that are so slowly starting to become more and more popular as these independent agents that you can then go and apply to your overall nutrition stream that you take in every single day. Yeah, this is a complex one. There's so much noise that's being propagated by the democratization of information technology that's upsetting. But it's also, at the same time, it is what it is, that we need to see it as a grand challenge for us to figure out ways to make it so that noise doesn't rise, that signal rises, and also the signal that's rising is there by very educated, nuance-driven, peace-driven, love for nature, harmoniously driven, consciously living with Mother Earth and nature-driven people and organizations. Identify those and share them and prop them up and help them. And facilitate it. Mainstream media is not something for us to go and try and augment. This is long ruts. These are contours that have been dug in the same direction over and over again. People can't go independent. People can't just go and completely flip the organization that's been around for decades propagating the same memes into some new light. It's possible. It's extremely unlikely. So to help them with the process of death, let them die. Let those cells die and let the new cells propagate, the new cells of independent agents that you trust are there for harmonious and conscious living with the planet that we live on, with each other, and with the divine source of creation that we're all birthed from. That's it. I love you very much. Thank you for tuning in, and share this conversation with more people around you and support the independent agents around the world, the artist agents, as well as the entrepreneur agents, the spiritual leading agents that you believe in that can create that better future for us. Support them, help them grow. All right. Big love to you all. Give us your thoughts in the comments below on the Stream of Consciousness, and subscribe if you haven't. Follow us across platforms if you haven't. And love you very much. Big love.